Hello, beauty therapist. I hope you're all well today. My name's Kathleen, and I'm super, super excited to introduce you all to Danielle Hughes and kickstart a brand new series that we've started in the group where I get to introduce you all to, industry leaders of the beauty industry. So we have Danielle Hughes, who I like to call the Queen of Lives. You're welcome to
I don't
say
know
hello.
about queen, but okay.
Well, I really do believe that because honestly, when you look back at your history when it comes to live education on Facebook, you're up to number 82 or 81.
I've done 81, yes.
81. It's just incredible. And it really inspired myself as well to come on live and just put myself out there and just deliver information of value. So absolutely love what you're doing, Danielle. She has a live video series called Behind the Scenes with Skin Factor, if you haven't heard of her already. And she's also the director of Skin Factor. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this interview and start asking Danielle some questions about how she became the person she is today. And so you can get inspired on how you can perhaps follow a similar career path and just see what's out there in the industry. There's so much, right?
Absolutely. Fire away.
Awesome. So to begin, I wanted to ask a bit of a fun question. And what is your absolute number one favorite thing about the beauty industry, Danielle?
It's hard to just keep this at one thing, hey?
Yeah.
I think the breadth of our industry is pretty impressive. And I think certainly the way that our industry has evolved, certainly even in my career, is pretty remarkable, I must admit. It's constantly evolving. There's always new technology and trends, and also new information and education that becomes available to us as professionals. Of course, for me, I spark up when it comes to the skin. I feel that the skin is an incredibly complex, intricate. Oh, it's getting late.
It is.
And, I love that from the research that I've done, I guess I've become even more passionate about it because of the way that it interrelates with other organs. I mean, everything is connected, and I find that fascinating. I also feel very privileged with my work with Skin Factor to be able to have a tool that I can share with people that does change lives. And I think when you are able to fix someone's skin, or you're able to make them feel more confident and, more sprightly about their day-to-day life, that is a really, really motivating thing and rewarding thing. And I feel that regardless of whether you specialize in brows or lash enhancements or tanning even. I mean, I feel amazing when I've got a spray tan on. I think that that's a big aspect to this industry, is the ability to be able to connect with people and to make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Danielle. And it just encompasses everything what this whole interview series is about. It's about talking about all the possibilities. So that's just so beautiful. And I love that skin is what lights you up. And I know you have so much knowledge and expertise and just experience within this realm to share with everyone. So I'd love to ask you the second question, which is basically to tell us all about how you came to be who you are today, and basically talking about your role as a director, as an educator, anything you'd love to share, Danielle.
I mean, in a nutshell, it's been a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Hard work. I mean, anyone in this industry will tell you that to be the best version of what you're wanting to be, you need to put in a lot of effort. So to flesh that out, pun intended, I suppose I started my diploma of beauty when I was fresh out of high school. My mum always took a lot of care in her skin and getting her brows done. And I remember going to a salon with her and sitting in the waiting room and going into the treatment room with her and thought, oh my goodness, this would be a fun place to work. So I guess it was from a position of naivety about what the industry was, but I just knew that I wanted to study beauty therapy. So that's what I did. And I worked in some salons and some spas. And then I actually went and did my hairdressing apprenticeship at the same time as I was working in a salon. So I kind of did the beauty services in the hair salon and did my apprenticeship in hairdressing. And that was before I got a role as a national brand manager for a cosmeceutical brand, because I just felt that I needed more of a challenge than what I was getting working on the floor, whether it was in the hair or the beauty industry. And I liked the idea of being able to do training courses. Like, I wanted to be employed as a trainer, but it turned out there weren't many trainer roles. So I thought, well, a brand manager does training and they do sales. And they had some marketing roles as well. So I guess I did that as a challenge. And, as a side note, I was never a very good salesperson. I've become better at it. I've strengthened that muscle, but I was never all that great at sales. So it was a steep learning curve repping. But 3 years ago, I guess, to come to the end of quite a lot of period of time, I had the opportunity to take over the distribution of Skin Factor Australia, which is a European brand. So we import it. And look, I was lucky to have existing customers and to have connections within the industry. And I say that because if there are any distributors out there watching, you'll know that anyone getting into distribution, it's an expensive exercise, a really expensive exercise, especially without existing customers. So I was very fortunate to be able to walk into the new role and into a new company where there were some people that were already purchasing Skin Factor. And after the first year of doing business the way I used to, so repping on the road and running training courses and, the traditional way of breaking into the market, it became crystal clear that I needed to do something different to get my brand out there, to get, I guess, what my services are, what my expertise is out there. And that's really how behind the scenes of Skin Factor came about, as a way to share education that I'd come to understand myself through my different areas of career, and also research that I'd undertaken. But it was also a way for me to get exposure using a modern platform, which, let's be honest, is free to use. I mean, it really is a no-brainer, but it also is a lot of work in itself. So, it's not, there's pros and cons to everything. And I feel, to be honest, I mean, yes, it's a way to get my brand out there, but I also feel it's so important for our industry to get that kind of information out there. I mean, I became really tired of all the BS that I saw, both in the retail channels, but also in the professional channels, and I thought that this was a way to be able to share facts and to share peer-reviewed material and at least start a conversation about something that was a little bit deeper than this will make you look 10 years younger after one application.
Yes, I love that, Danielle. I absolutely love that. And that's really cool to see how the journey from becoming a beauty therapist, just being inspired by the atmosphere and knowing it felt good, to then really developing and trying new things and coming into the role that you're in now and developing in sales skills. It's just incredible. And I wanted to ask one follow-up question in regards to this. And, when was the point when you realized that, there is a lot of BS or misinformation going on in the industry? And when did you kind of make that click, and how did you come to that and realize, what there has to be a better way? Where did that start for you, Danielle?
I think I've always been just a bit cynical, to be honest. Like, I'd be told something as a child and I'd think, I'm not sure about that. And I'd go and ask somebody else, or I'd look it up, or, so I guess I've always been a bit cynical. And whilst I love this industry, I feel that a lot of what you see is just some hopes and dreams story that's spun in a million and one different ways. And, I understand that, and I don't necessarily hate that fact. I just feel that there is another part of the pie to be educated about, and I feel that when you have all of the information, you can actually make a more informed choice. I mean, even just walking around the beauty expo, there are some great stands and there's some stands that you think, really?
Yeah.
So I guess I've always been cynical, to answer your question, but definitely in distribution, I feel that you do have, because you're selling to professionals, it's maybe a bit more magnified than if you were to be a consumer, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. And you just have to be skeptical, right? And it's about questioning the information you've been told. I think for myself, I found that in the industry, when I was fresh out of TAFE, I was searching for some evidence behind the things that I was being told. I found it was a lot of information being passed down from senior beauty therapists downwards. And one of the things I love about you, Danielle, and your series Behind the Scenes of Skin Factor is that you are always referencing the peer-reviewed journal articles, and you're really just basing it on the facts. It's just incredible.
There's probably another aspect to this, and I don't want to come across as harsh, because I understand that every industry needs to make money. I get that. But I also feel that we've come so far in this industry. It's not just doing fluffy facials and putting on beautiful cosmetic products that smell divine. We're now using energy. We're now actively burning people. We're traumatizing people with a skin needling treatment. And yes, it's controlled and there's a reason why we do it. But understanding the bigger picture with regards to these more invasive treatments, I feel it's so important. It's more important now than what it ever was before, because we do have access to modalities that do work on a far deeper level than just the stratum corneum.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really acknowledging how, oh, wow, I get tingles just thinking about this. We have such a unique opportunity where we're working with, if we're talking about skin, we're talking about the body's largest organ. We're putting ingredients onto the skin, and it's literally changing the way the cells function. And you put it so well, we're using all these modalities, and we're so privileged that we get to do this, but we really must understand what's happening in the skin cells. So I love that you're sharing so much information when you present your education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we need this in the industry. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's so important. Yeah, it's very needed. So moving on, I really wanted to ask, what would be your words of advice to offer the audience? So another beauty therapist out there who might be feeling really inspired by your journey. They're thinking, I love education. Absolutely, you inspire me, that's for sure. So, what words of advice would you tell these beauty therapists, perhaps from an educator point of view, or perhaps from a distributor? What would you share with them to kind of help them on their journey to getting into those roles?
Okay, well, I think as a distributor, it's pretty well known. There are a lot of products within this market, both in the professional channel and in the retail channel. And by retail, I mean both online and in, retail giant stores. So it goes without saying that you need a unique product, whatever it is, whether it's a new skincare product, a new brow product, whatever, it needs to be unique. Otherwise, what's the point? Because then it just comes down to marketing spin. I feel that regardless actually of whether it's education, distribution, whatever role you're going to take, maybe you're a therapist and you love working in the salon, I feel that consistency is a really, really big factor. And patience as well. And I'm not always the most patient person, but I've learned to have that little bit more patience, because patience and consistency is very, very important in business. I find also that these days in business, the salon owner does take that little bit more time before they invest in something. There's that little bit more caution, I feel, that is adopted, and the sales process can be drawn out a lot more than what it used to be 5-10 years ago, especially if you're new to market. So if nobody knows of your brand or has confidence in your brand. So I think that's a big point. Financial backing, I mean, not to get too serious, but it's one thing to love a skincare brand that you see at Cosmoprof and think, yep, I can do this. It's not that hard. But doing business in Australia is quite challenging. It's quite expensive. And financial backing, as well as a very strong support network of people around you that actually want you to succeed, is very important. An existing network of people, of professionals who would consider purchasing from you or who would certainly see the value in what you offer because they've expressed to you that they have a hole in whatever they're doing. What else? Communication.
Yeah.
Do not get into distribution if you cannot communicate what it is that you're distributing. And I say that because communication is, I guess, other than being consistent, it is one of the most important aspects to any successful business. If you can't communicate why something is good, then how are they ever going to know that it's good enough to purchase? And it goes both ways. You know, you also need to be able to be a good listener and to hear what problems need fixing with your product. Persistency, endurance. It's a hard slog. I mean, I don't know if I've got any other distributors watching at the moment, but it's not an easy slog, particularly if you are importing. There are a number of different layers. So I say this because, you know, I love what I do and I don't regret it for one moment. But I also came into my role at Skin Factor, taking over that distribution after having experience with another distributor and seeing how it works. You know, seeing how to manage cash flow and to project stock and to be able to even just come out with a wholesale price based on what it costs to get it here. I mean, it's quite an intricate kind of thing. I think also the ability to think outside of the box and to be creative as a distributor now is more important because you will be competing with people that have been in this industry for a very long time. They are seasoned. They have marketing departments. They have gorgeous campaigns. They have great websites. The list goes on. They've got reps on the ground. So how would you be able to compete with that? And certainly, look, I can't compete with reps on the ground. You know, I can't compete with all these big, shiny marketing campaigns, even though we do have some great marketing campaigns at Skin Factor, our Christmas packs, for example. But I feel that, you know, education is where it became very, very important for me to exercise some muscle. And that, I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's thinking out of the box, but at the time there was no other distributor that was doing it that I know of.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is important to be able to think about how you can market your brand and how you can get exposure. And if you are a new business, how you can do that without paying 20 grand to exhibit at Expo and maybe get a couple of leads that you can follow up, you know? So there's many different layers, and it might be not the most rosy picture, but I think if you're getting into business to do distribution, you want to know, you know, what's involved, and that's just a very small piece of the pie. Certainly with education. Do you want me to keep talking? I feel like I swear this industry is sick of the sound of my voice.
Absolutely not, but I would love to ask a follow-up question in relation to the distribution, because I have to say, before you actually please feel welcome. Before you explained the role of the distributor and so eloquently described all the things that would be useful, I have to say I didn't fully understand the role of a distributor and understanding how even a beauty therapist would get into that role in the first place. And from what I'm hearing here, it's you are either, and please definitely chime in to share with the audience what a typical or atypical way of getting into the role is. But I'm seeing it's, you know, as a beauty therapist, you either go work for a company and you kind of move up in the ranks, or is it more so you find an incredible product and you know you're business driven and you want to actually showcase that? What am I on the right track here, Danielle?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important to get experience within the B2B market before you go and spend money, because it will cost money to do B2B. I mean, there are lots and lots of different ways to get into it. I was lucky. I got the opportunity and I jumped on it, but it wasn't something I necessarily actively went after. So it's kind of hard to share what the right path into it would be. I mean, certainly going and finding a product or having a product made locally, private label that you think, someone else might be wanting to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And to, kind of delve into B2B is probably the way that most people do it. I mean, there's so many different ways. That's the thing. It's actually hard to answer that. But if you're thinking about becoming a distributor, then you really need to know what the B2B market is all about. And I guess the crux of it is that unless you sell online to the consumer, which we don't do at Skin Factor, but unless, you're going to sell your product online, you're actually relying on other people to sell your product so that you can continue being successful and making money. I mean, that's pretty much what it's about. But look, there's so many ways to roam. I mean, I was lucky, I suppose, to have the opportunity at the time that I did. But there's many different ways to roam. Certainly having money or financial support or an investor is the easiest way to start.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for elaborating on that. I think,
I don't think I gave you a great answer, because it's not really like I can't really answer it. But, look, there's lots and lots of different ways to maneuver yourself within the industry.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you answered it well, because, I mean, really, I'm not sure who out there as a beauty therapist would kind of look at the start of their career and go, yep, I want to be a distributor. I think you're right in saying that. You fell into it. You had a great opportunity in front of you and you jumped at it. I think that's perfect. So please
I
go
also
on.
feel that, sorry. No, go.
No, you're right. I'm sure that was very valuable. Please.
Well, I feel that as a distributor as well, it becomes more and more important now to be able to support and substantiate what you do. And the consumer, just like the therapist, is becoming more and more informed. So I feel that the education side of things is very, very important. And I do feel that on a whole, the distributors in this country do offer good education, but I do also feel on the other side of that there is a lot of information out there, and we could all probably do more research. As therapists, as distributors, I mean, there's a lot of content that is out there to be shared that can potentially support what we are distributing. I mean, certainly over the last couple of years with Behind the Scenes, I've done a lot of research. I'm also studying at uni at the moment, and that definitely broadens the access to materials. But I do feel that if you're interested in being an educator, or a distributor really, but certainly if you're interested in being an educator, then you've got to put in a lot of study and a lot of effort to be able to be in a position where people actually respect you as an educator who can give them value, because a lot of this stuff is out there. Whether or not it's easy to digest and accessible is another thing, but certainly if you're getting into education, you need to be able to pull all of this information together, make it relevant for somebody, and share it with authority.
Yeah, and that's a lot of steps there, and it's very important to take that approach, I believe. So thank you for sharing that extra tidbit there, and I'd love for you to share how, just on the topic of being an educator and how one can get into that. I'm very, very interested. I think there's a lot of us who are very passionate about educating. I know myself, I love sharing information. I think, I've got this information, why not share it? So I think this would be really, really valuable to a lot of beauty therapists.
Yeah, I mean, starting by doing your diploma of beauty therapy, good place to start. If you haven't got your diploma of beauty therapy, then I would highly recommend you get your diploma of beauty therapy, because it's just taking your experience and it's taking your knowledge to another level. I do feel that this industry is undergoing major shifts, major changes, and it is going to become so important. I cannot stress this enough, that if you're wanting to continue performing the advanced procedures, that you will need a degree, and that involves going to university and doing a degree. And it's hard work, especially if you've got to work at the same time. It's a lot. But I do feel that as an educator within this industry, that will become quite important to show that you yourself have been at the top of the game. You know, you, despite, okay, I guess other than doing medicine and then dermatology, you've at least got a degree within aesthetics or dermal therapy. There are a couple of university degrees, 3 or 4 now, I think, that are out there that allow you to broaden your knowledge base, and that also broadens your scope. So I do feel that if you're looking now to become an educator, it would serve you well to have a degree. And that also adds breadth to your credibility. Of course, to be an educator within a college or a registered training organisation or some kind of training provider or facility, you will need, I think it's Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment. Training and,
TAA?
TAA. I think it used to be TAA, now it's TAE. But in any case, that's you're like train the trainer thing. So you'd need your Cert 4 in training and assessment. And you need experience as well. You know, when I first started out with the previous company, I was fresh out of a salon, and I did have my Cert 4 and everything. But I was doing education training days for women within this industry. I was in my 20s. For women within this industry that were very, very experienced. And it was like a sink or swim moment. And I did so much study. I had no life. I studied because I didn't want to be in a situation where I didn't know the answer. And admittedly, I don't know all of the answers, but if you're wanting to get into training, you have to recognize that you're going to be training people who maybe have 30 years of experience on you. So it's not just enough to bluff your way through something. You have to put in the effort so that you do know more than them, because, you know, when they'll probably think, well, you're 20 years old. What are you going to teach me? That's how I felt at the time. So I put in a lot of effort so that I had something valuable to share with people who probably thought that I couldn't teach them anything at the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's even just having the extra knowledge, like, of course, the experience and the knowledge and really putting in the hard yards. I hear that. And that's really, really helpful. Thank you for sharing, Danielle.
You're welcome.
And moving on, because I think we've really touched on some great points. I'd love to, you've kind of touched on this on the last question, and it's all about education. And I know a lot of beauty therapists within the group, they're always, the group is created to share information and connect people to the right resources. So we're always dying to know, where do you find your education? And please enlighten us. We'd love to hear.
Okay, well, there are a few different sources that I access. I do have a very well-informed friendship group or peer group of people that are within the industry, within the medical industry, that are within like raw ingredients manufacturing, and formulators. So I do have quite it's not a huge group, but I do have well-informed industry friends that I can call upon for advice or a comment, or, I guess an arrow in the right direction. Yeah. And look, from time to time, it's really insightful to get their opinion on something, So I think having a great network is important. Google. Yes. Come on, guys. Google is free.
That's right. Yes.
Pretty much all of the peer review articles are on Google. There are some that you have to pay for, but really most of my broadcasts are all from free articles that are available to anybody who can be bothered to go and find them, as just like a word of advice. If you want to look up acne, or if you want to look up pigmentation or skin microbiome, always type that in and you'll get some websites, you'll get some blogs, sometimes you'll get peer-reviewed articles. But if you just type in peer review after whatever topic you're interested in, then you'll have a list of peer review articles that come up. And I tend to only reference articles that have been written in the last 5 years, unless there is a reason to delve into the history. And sometimes there is, you know. I've got, where is my, here, I always hold this up, my anatomy and physiology textbook. So this was given to me by like a friend who did nursing, and this has got all the different systems of the body, and it's great underpinning knowledge. And then university, you know, I feel that university, it does give me access to different materials maybe that aren't available online. I don't rely on that resource or that library, but it does give me, you know, other options. Yeah, someone's just saying use Google Scholar to search. Now you guys are giving me advice.
Yes.
And I guess, look, I mean, there are lots of forums that are out there on Facebook, but I don't necessarily think they are as educational as the other points I've made, or those other points I've listed. You know, I feel that a lot of the forums are a lot of noise, a lot of opinion, and, you know, a great way to share ideas and to communicate with each other. But I would suggest that from that, you would then go and do the Google Scholar or Google peer review, or speak to other people within the industry, or, you know, look at a textbook, go to the library. I know it's old school, you know, but there is still value in that. I think you tell a lot about an industry from the conversations on these forums and these groups. It's a great way to take a pulse that should then lead to further research and studies. And look, there are some amazing events as well. And I have been lucky enough to go to a number of events internationally, overseas, through my work in distribution and brand management. And there are some great events here in Australia, but don't feel that just because you can't fork out or afford $500 or $1,000, whatever it costs to go to an event, don't think that you can't still get the education and build that muscle.
Yes. There's so much free
absolutely
knowledge out there. And I love that you shared that about essentially how to find information, because I know for myself, before I even, so I studied nursing prior to beauty therapy, and even just in my nursing degree, I was like, how do I even read? How do I use this? It's all big, long words. So that's super handy, guys. I hope you all heard that. Peer review after the topic that you want to
use Google Scholar.
Yeah, Google Scholar. Amazing.
Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I feel that when you type in acne peer review, sometimes now I think I've seen Google Scholar. I swear it escorts you to Google Scholar anyway. But in any case, yes, either way.
Yeah, that's it. I often just type Scholar at the end of what I'm wanting to find, like acne Scholar. I guess it's the same.
Yeah, well, there
method.
you go. Yeah. We all got there in the end.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Thank you. That's really, really important. And all of this, the education that you mentioned and finding these resources, this is only going, you know, and bringing that into these forums is only going to help up level the industry. And that's so important that we all kind of grow together. And
absolutely.
I do have another question, and this is, you've kind of alluded to this as well, but I'd love to hear about your predictions for the beauty industry in the next 10 to 20 years. Yeah, there's a lot to change. I think we've got a lot of growing to do. Yeah.
Look, I think a lot is changing. I think a lot has changed. I mean, you could ask somebody 20 years, like, it would be so interesting if there was an interview 20 years ago to hear what they said our industry would be like today.
Yeah. Flying cars.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I feel that the professional beauty industry or dermal industry or aesthetics industry, whatever you want to call it, will become highly specialized. It will be a survival of the most skilled or the most consistent, the most professional, the most expert in a particular aspect of the beauty arena or the dermal arena. I feel that this is really time to double down on expertise. And if you don't feel like you have expertise in something, then it's time to upskill and educate yourself so that you're not left behind or drowned out by the medical arena or the online retail giants, which are arguably more powerful and really do threaten us. We have a situation where we have influencers and online vloggers that are not even qualified in beauty therapy, let alone dermal therapy or health or medicine, that are giving advice, So if ever there was a time to re-establish our professionalism, it was now. And that's certainly, look, I mean, that is also another aspect to behind the scenes. And it's also, just on a side note, I wasn't even planning on sharing this, but it's also a side note as to why I'll be launching something entirely new, an entirely new channel that I feel everybody within the industry needs. Yeah, really, it needs. The aesthetics channel.online. There you go, you heard it here first. However, it will be a way in which we're able to communicate direct with the consumer, to take back some of the conversation that's currently out there, just blah, 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 and to be able to redirect the consumer back into our professional clinics and our businesses. So yes, definitely upskilling and educating ourselves. I do believe that a beauty therapist will need to upskill to a degree qualification to be able to continue performing treatments like skin needling, like laser, like IPL, like HIFU. I mean, the writing is on the wall with that. It's happened overseas. It will happen here. It only takes, one more thing to go wrong, which at some point it probably will, unfortunately, and it all just gets pulled from out underneath us. So having a degree will really help protect you against the enforcement of regulations. I feel DIY procedures are going to be big business. It's not just for the affordability aspect and the self-empowerment aspect, but it's also for the time-saving factor. So I feel within this industry, need to think about how we're able to compete with that, because I don't think that trend is going anywhere. I mean, I get sponsored posts every day on Instagram and Facebook telling me that I can buy this laser machine and do my own hair removal, for example. So it's out there, and I don't think it's going anywhere. I also feel, it's funny. I heard Billy Rickman say this on a podcast. There you go, Billy Rickman, you just got a plug. Yeah. But I remember him predicting that robots will overtake or take over rather certain procedures, and we'll have like 24/7 clinics that are available where you can go in and you can select your eyebrow shape and what color, and the robot will just come out and do it. And at the time, I thought, yeah, okay, well, that's a bold prediction. And it kind of made me feel a bit nervous, because I don't know how I would personally feel about that as a consumer. However, there could be something in that. And I think that that's also something we need to consider. It will probably take more than 20 years, and I don't know who would afford to do that. But yeah, it is an interesting concept and probably something that can't be ruled out. Now, in saying that, I feel that on the flip side of robots doing our skin treatments and our brow treatments, connectedness is, yeah, I know, right? Connectedness is our ultimate power. It's the ability, and the ability to listen and to personalize and to actually have care factor and to prescribe and to, like the healing power of touch. You can just make someone feel like everything's going to be okay just by giving them a scalp massage or or just giving them a cleanse, and I do feel that when you look at our lives, everything's on these my skull phone, everything's on these damn phones and on Facebook and everything. And it's fantastic. But we now have the ability to ask Google to turn the lights on or close the curtains or put this song on Spotify, you know, and in many ways we are losing the ability to connect with humans and to communicate with each other in language rather than just shorthand text messages. So this, I feel, when it comes to skin and specific skin problems, is an important consideration. And that is something that the online market can never take away from us, I feel. I don't feel that the medical arena does that as well as us. And I also feel that it's not something that the big retail giants can really compete with. So, you know, it's not just a facial, you know, it's the fact that they can come and they can tell you their problems and their voice is heard and they feel special. And that really is, I feel, the key, as well as having all the education and, you know, being at the top of your game.
Yes. Oh, gosh, a lot of food for thought there, Danielle. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I could ask so many questions, but I'd definitely be here all night. But I couldn't agree more. I think we do need to up level, because you're right, something could just happen any minute now, and we would have, let me just say, privilege to work with this organ in such an in-depth way. You know, it could be taken away from us. So we do all need to up level to kind of keep things the way they are, or at least improve them as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
And my last question for tonight, just a nice little fun one, is if you could go back in time and give your younger self, the younger Danielle, one piece of life advice, what would that be? What does she need to hear?
There's only one piece of advice I can give my younger self, is there?
Yeah. Oh, you can give her a few, but the most important.
I'd first off tell the 18-year-old Danielle that the tan looked orange. You weren't cool.
Oh no, yeah, I think we all need to hear that.
Yeah, you were all thinking it about my earlier photos, weren't you? Look, I guess, for the industry, I do feel that it's more important to know why you're doing something, whether it's a treatment or whatever, than just how to do it, to rather just to understand more laterally why something is done versus just listening to someone say you should do X, Y, and Z and then going and doing it. I do feel, in terms of an industry advice, it is arguably more important to understand why you're doing something to the skin rather than just how to do something to the skin. Yes, certainly the orange fake tan. And also, look, I guess I've understood this. I think I understand this more from doing the live broadcasts. And I feel that it is important advice to give because, you know, it probably serves us all well, because it can be quite difficult growing up now, whoever you are, with access to all of these images and their body image issues is, wear the short skirt type thing. But I do feel that it's important to back yourself and to trust in what you're putting out there, and to understand that it's okay that not everybody likes you, and really other people's opinions about you is none of your business, and to just believe in what you're doing and what you're saying and what your philosophies are, what your ethics are, because that integrity that you have that might not appeal to everyone is going to appeal to some people. And, you know, I had an issue where it was around the time of doing the BB Glow broadcast, and it really made me realize, and it taught me a very strong lesson, a very powerful lesson early on. And I think that that is a very valuable piece of advice, is to just understand that you'll never please anybody. Oh, sorry, you'll never please anybody, guys.
Never.
You'll never please everybody, and that's okay. But you will find your niche, and you will find the people that want to be around you. So, they're the three pieces of advice I give my younger self, not just the small stuff.
Yes, and your vibe attracts your tribe. I think that's a commonly spoken Yeah, it's super important. Thank you, Danielle. So before we go and finish this interview, I'd just quickly like to say thank you so much for your time, just coming on here to share everything with everyone on here. We've learned so much. We've loved having you here, and would love to know how we can find more out about yourself, about Skin Factor. Let us know all the links, all the bits and pieces we all need to know.
Okay. Well, it's only fair because I've given Billy Rickman a plug. I should give myself a plug, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So if you are interested to listen to some of the educational content, I go live every Monday morning at 9:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at the moment, so Sydney time. And we've got so many different topics. So I'm sure there's something that you can find in the library of videos that will tickle your fancy. So that's behind the scenes X Skin Factor. Skin Factor is spelled with a K, SKINFAKTOR. And you can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Skin Factor Australia. And I'm more than happy to share my email address with you guys if you have any questions for me that you don't want to put in the comments, or you'd like to get in touch. My email address is just my name, so Danielle, DANIELLE, at skinfactor.com.au. But I would also just like to take this opportunity to thank you guys for tuning in live. I mean, it's nearly 9 o'clock here in Sydney. This is prime time viewing for you guys, but thank you for tuning in live, and a big thank you to you, Kathleen. I feel very proud that you've asked me onto this. It's very special, and I think it's a fantastic initiative that you're going to bring together people within this industry to share these stories, because there are so many incredible stories. And I'm so proud to have been your first person. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you. I mean, it's first time doing an interview. I'm a little bit all over the place, but I really, really appreciate you coming on.
Can I just say, guys, I started the first answer. I got through my first answer. It was about 3 minutes, the first answer, and we realized that we weren't live.
Yes.
We started again.
Slight technical issues. So thank you for bearing through that.
Go on.
Yes, that's right. Next time, actually click the go live button. Oh,
don't worry, your next guest will not have that.
No, that's right.
Will not have that issue. All right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Have a wonderful night, and we look forward to connecting with you. All the details will be in the comments, guys. I'll pop them there very, very soon. Thank you, Danielle. Bye.
Bye. Now we have to work.